Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Kim here, and today is Techniques Tuesday. And if you watched my last video, I was doing this one right after it, but it all depended on how things were loading up as to whether or not it would get aired actually on Tuesday, or if you're actually going to be seeing this on Wednesday morning. But I did tell you I was going to work with the same images that were in the digital kit, but I was going to work with the free ones. So this is the images from the member side. So I'm just going to put those aside. And so I started cutting them up while I was waiting for you, and just to save us some time so I wasn't gluing and doing that kind of stuff that, stuff we see all the time. So this was the original sheet. I think it went this way, and then this was up here. Something like that. Oh, I can't remember. But it was something like that. So I had cut up a bunch of pieces, and I also cut into the larger sheet. That's what this is from, is this larger sheet, just to make some basic tag bases. And in making the tag bases, I used the image. I used a layer of book page, which you can't really see underneath here. You can sort of see on the edge of this one. And then I backed it with some coffee dyed paper. And this was just scrappy paper, so I will cover that with a label or something afterwards. But I didn't want to sit there and have to glue in front of you the whole time and then wait for these things to dry. So I figured, well, I'll get those done, and then I can proceed from there. So I'm just going to cut these out really quickly and chat with you. Now, this isn't a technique about tag making. You know how to make tags. We've made a few already. It's just about doing different styles. And so I'm going to show you that once I get these cut out. So for now, you're just going to have to listen to me. Now, I will probably stitch around these afterwards, but for those of you that don't have a sewing machine, you can just glue them, and just glue them well enough that they're nicely secure on your papers. But I like the look of stitching, and I like to know that for sure there's no way, even in 5 years, that it's going to come apart. I think the paper will disintegrate before my stitching will come apart on here. But yeah, even this is painful enough. I should have had at least 3 of them cut out by now, but I didn't. So you have to bear with me and watch. It's one of those things. I don't make you do too much of this kind of stuff. So once in a while you can watch me cut things out. I'll try not to be too quiet. And just one more to go. I think I did that one already, yes. Now, inking is, of course, up to you whether or not you want to ink the edges of your pages. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I usually don't spend too much time doing that on the video, or on the videos that I make, but I might ink one up here just for you to see the result. And so I've got my 4 tags just backed. This one had a little bit of that doily imprint in the coffee, and just 2 coffee dyed there, and another coffee dyed one here. So what today's video is about was a conversation I saw on Facebook, I think it was Facebook, about reinforcers. That's these little round circles that you have on tags. And the person was concerned that she wanted to be able to cut out a whole bunch of them at once. So she wanted to know where she could get a multiple die or something to that effect. I don't know the person. I don't remember the conversation. But I gave her an answer, and I don't know if she felt that that was sufficient or not. But again, I remind you all the time not to get caught up on buying tools, because a lot of times the stuff you already have is more than sufficient to get you to junk journaling. And I've been doing this for over 20 years. Over 20 years doing it with the tools and the scrapbooking stuff, all the rage that went out in the late 90s. So that's more than 20 years. you know, and in scrapbooking, we started out with the little cute little punches. I'm sure you've got a few of those, you know, these little things kicking around at home. If you've been in this a long time, and then there's those little whale tail punches, and that's what a whale tail is, you guys, not the actual tab punch. The whale tails are the punches that have this shape. They look like a little whale. But over the years, we've collected all kinds of those things. I'm just trying to find a really, you know, this is a round one. I've got hearts, I've got butterflies, and I don't use them. I use them on occasion, but I realized after you collect for a while, you tend to use the same things over and over again. Or, you know, you have your flavor, I call it flavor of the month, and that seems to be what I'll use for a month, and then I move on. So don't get caught up in all of the necessary or unnecessary tools that we see other people using, and then we want to have them for ourselves, which is the same thing as getting a set of these little reinforcers. Number one, you'll sit down and you'll cut piles of them, and you'll never use them because they'll never be handy in the color that you want unless you separate them all by color and sort them out or put them on the tags right away. But you'll end up with this little envelope or baggie or whatever it is that you put them in, and they're going to be sitting there, and you've wasted your time making them and your money buying the die, and it'll get stuck in a drawer and you'll forget about it. Half the time, I don't even put these things on. So it's very easy to get caught up, and so I wanted to show you my method of making these. It's really simple. In fact, I even brought a brown piece of paper to the table, as close as I had. I have a dark brown too. So we all have these strips. This is a cardstock strip, and I talk about them all the time. We're forever taking off 1 inch on scrapbook paper. Doesn't matter what size you buy, we always end up taking off 1 inch for something. And it doesn't have to be scrapbook paper. It can be cardstock. It can be file folders. It can be paper. But one of the key tools that you need is a regular $2, $1, depending on where you live, hole punch from your local 5 and dime or your local dollar store. And all I do is I punch a hole, and I don't worry about it being perfect. I punch a hole somewhere, and then I move on and I punch another one somewhere, and I keep going for as many as I want. So in this case, I'm going to punch out 4. Now, the one other tool that you may want to have is a round punch. Now, this one is a 3/4, but you know, a 1/2 inch, 5/8, whatever it is. If you slide this, now you've got it in a long strip here. If you slide this in and just line it up approximately, it doesn't have to be perfect. And make sure they don't run away on you too much. And then go on to doing the next one. Yeah, they go flying all over the place. And the next one, and so on. Okay, so I got 4 of these flying around. Now these ones are a little bit bigger, but does it matter? It's still got the same size hole. And you can make them in any color you want, any type of material you want, and you instantly got your reinforcers. You just hole punch your tag where you want the reinforcer to be. And the nice thing about this hole punch is it goes about 1 inch into your tag or into your paper. And there you go. Now I could have even glued this down to save me trying to line it up. But then a little bit of glue. Now I'm just using tacky glue right now. I probably could just get away with a glue stick on this. And glue it on. Now this cardstock had a white core to it, so I probably could have inked it. In fact, I will take it off and just ink it fast, because I see that core white. I don't know if you can see it. on the camera or not, but it's got a bit of white, so I'm just gonna ink around the edges and I'll re-glue it. And putting glue on again. Moment of silence. And gluing it to my tag. So there is the same thing. Now, I like square corners. I usually just cut the little nubs off, but if you really want to have the shipping tag corners, you can either just line up a shipping tag or cut one corner and turn it around, or make yourself a template out of an old credit card. And you instantly have a tag. Now, if you want one on the back side as well, that's why we made 4. And I'm just going to ink that up a little bit. Put glue on this one. And there we go. I've got it glued onto the back side, and I'll just let this set, and my tag is ready to go. It can be inked, decorated, and it's reinforced. It looks just like this one, and you saw how I made it. You saw how easy this was to cut out. And then you're left with a whole strip of nothings. Keep these nothings. We're going to have a nothing class. You'll learn something with nothing. So we are going to have a nothing class. We will play with that later on. So hang on to these strips, whatever kind that you make, or any kind of nothings that you have. But again, not to get caught up on having this tool. You can make them square and just fold a piece of cardstock or paper in half. Cut it into 2 pieces. Take your next tag, decide which way you want your tag to be. I think I want it to be this way. This is one of my favorite ways to make a shipping or a reinforcement. And you can decide if you want to have it sitting out or reinforced further down here. Now I would make this just a little bit smaller, only because I don't want it to go that far into the tag or that long. And I'm just going to take the ink and ink up that white that's showing on the core of the paper. And I'm just going to glue in here. And glue it on either side of my tag. Now, this is one of my favorite ways to do like a book page tag, or if you have ledger paper, is to just make this square little tab. It reinforces to pull it out of something, like if you've got it in a pocket, and it reinforces if you're going to have like some twine or something going through it. Now, I probably should wait for this to dry. But because we're on a time limit here, I'm hoping it's going to go through all of this. Yes, it does. And yeah, I should have probably waited. I wouldn't have this little rough edge in here, but I'll just pick it out and take my scissors and snip it out. And you can go further by you know, putting the little what is it? Not a grommet. It's a metal thing. You know what I mean? I can't come. The word's not coming today. You can go further and add a rivet or grommet. No, that's not the word. Eyelet. I'm stuck. Okay. But this is my most favorite way because you can be so decorative with any kinds of papers that you want to add on here. If you're using a brown tag, you can add music sheet. It can be paper. It doesn't have to be cardstock. And again, I can either snip the corners or cut off the nubs, which is usually what I like to do. I just like to take and trim them off at the top and bottom. Rachel from Roxy's Creations, she does that all the time. And I used to do the bottom corners, and then I watched her do the top, and I thought, oh, I love that. And so it came automatic after watching her do hers. And so again, if you are the type that likes to ink up your edges and ink up the white part of the paper, you can make a fun little tag very easily, and it doesn't cost you any money to buy those expensive little tools. Just a hole punch. So that's 2 right there that you can do so easily. But if you are the type of person that was caught up, you know, in buying all the fancy punches and tools, you can make them out of other materials. Let's see if I can find something that's big enough. Here we go. This should work. Yep. You know, if you have some of these punches, make them in different shapes. You don't have to make them small and round or square. They can be any size you want. And again, these nothings, we want to keep those nothings. I got a lot of nothings. So there again, you would just line it up on your tag. I think I'll go this way. And I'm going to have it stick out a little bit. So I'm going to glue it down. Now, maybe I should ink it so we can see it better, right? Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue along the bottom. I'm not going to glue the whole thing at this point. Just enough to hold it in place. And decide how far down I want to have it. Yeah, maybe about there. Now I could have also glued it right into the tag itself and then made my hole punch. But in this case, I'm going to make it a hole punch, but I'm also going to make it a tab on my card. So now I'm going to take the second one, ink this one up. Put some glue on here. And match that up with the one on the front. So now you have a decorative finish on both sides. And I'm just going to let that set for a second or two. I'm going to cut off these little nubby edges. I don't know why I call them nubby edges. That's what I call them. And then I'm going to take my hole punch and hole punch through the pieces. And hopefully, again, this will work because I am using cardstock. Yeah, it's fine. And so I have a reinforced hole on my tag. And this can be further enhanced. It can have some ribbon or twine coming through it. I just happen to have some ugly ribbons here, or ugly fabric strips here. And you know, you can decorate them even further. It doesn't have to be plain like this heart is. You know, I'm just showing you the different shapes that you can use. Maybe you have a flower punch, or maybe somebody's given you a bunch of die cut flowers and you don't know what to do with them. This is probably not the cutest looking thing on here, but it'll just work for today. This is just to give you an idea of how to punch them. So there's a lot of things that you can do. Yeah, I think I'll take this one off. Not everything's a winner, right? But there's a lot of things that you can do as an alternative to buying these little reinforcements, just by making your own instead. So again, I'm going to take this punch that I have, and it could be a butterfly, a flower, it can be just about anything. And I'm going to use another little strip. Something that matches my last tag. What have I got here? I've got this pink. I think I can squeeze a couple out of here. I think so. This is one of those that you have to almost stand up and do. Yeah, missed that one. Which is why I don't like these punches and why they sit in the drawer. There's another reason why you don't want to buy these. So you have to stand up and use them. Okay, so the same thing, I can just glue this down onto the tag. This one I'm not going to ink the edges. The color looks good on it. Now the trick with doing this one is that you want to line up this with this on the other side, and this won't have the hole either. So what I usually do is I take the two and punch them at the same time so that my holes are in the same spot. And then I take my glue and glue on the other side. Oh, backwards. Oh well, I'll cut a new one. No, I'll just wipe the glue off and use it because it's already got the hole punched in it. Okay, so today is still a continuation of how my whole week has been going, which is why I say I'm a little bit frazzled this week. Lori and her husband are touring the East Coast, and we're hoping that they're going to come back soon because I really only got to visit with them for a few days. And I'm hoping that maybe Lori will join me on one of these. So I've just glued this onto the back side. I'm hoping she'll finally consider joining me on one of my videos, even if it's just her hands and a little occasional yes or no, Lori. That would be awesome. Hopefully we have time. And again, just taking my scissors, I'm going to cut the edges off. But you know what? I think this one I'll do both. I'll cut the edges off and turn it into a shipping tag shape. Just so you can see it more in action. And I'm stuck to the glue on the other side. But it turned out not too bad. It's just that I have to let this dry a little bit first. But there you have it. All done and reinforced. And you have something that is unique. You're not caught up with buying what everybody else buys. You can use the round one, but you can make them yourself. But just think of all the possibilities of things that you can create just by playing around with tools you already have. So I thought that was pretty easy. And the reason I use this paper is because it's a new design that I'm showing in my shop. But you can see it only took minutes to make several different types of tag reinforcements that I can now add in fibers or, you know, torn fabrics or ribbons or any kind of trims like that. And in this case, this makes a really nice tab. I probably didn't need to cut a hole in it at this point, but, you know, I could put something through there like a dangle or a chain. So there's lots of possibilities with other things that can be added on. As far as decorating these tags, I would go further and decorate with probably some lace and trim, but that's not what this video was really about. So I will do them off camera, and I will do a follow-up and show you how I decorated them later. But yeah, it was just mainly to show you how to make these different types of reinforcements. So I hope you'll play around. I hope this was worthwhile waiting for. I hope it wasn't too late. Maybe it made it onto Tuesday yet. I'm not sure. But that's my video for today. Yeah, I have talked about these little nothings that I made, but it'll be further down when we actually do play with those. But it will be something that we do as well. I hope you enjoyed today's Techniques Tuesday. It's a simple one, but very effective. So go make some, and I will see you all next week. I will be back on Thursday with my Thrifty Canucks video, and I do have a couple of other videos in the works, but it just was not happening this week. This week, if the weather improves, we are going to be picking some apples. We bought some apple poles, apple picker poles. And so we're going to be picking some apples, but hopefully only be for a day or two and only for a couple of hours at a time. But otherwise, I should be back on track for the rest of the week. Have yourself a very creative day and a creative week, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Bye for now.